Hello, guys. Just doing a quick mic check. 1, 2. What's up?
What's
Howdy,
up?
howdy.
Hey, guys. Glad to have you. I think we're waiting on one more person, which is Francesco. Is that correct?
No, Francesco will be joining halfway.
Oh, he will be great. Awesome. Then, without further ado, let's get right into it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our bi-weekly AI agent deep dive called Agents Unplugged. This is the eighth edition. And today we're gonna go with the flow. A lot has happened. A lot of the guys here actually were at the token event in Dubai. I guess we can speak about this. I wasn't there myself. However, Morty, our CTO, and Gus, our lead blockchain engineer, were there. And I was properly briefed. But yeah, my name is Yannick. I'm the founder and CEO of Swarm Network. And what we do is very simple. We make large-scale swarm-driven businesses available to users. And we also have a really great product that deals with arbitrary information and brings that on-chain. And yeah, I'm very happy to be here today together with my co-host Marco. And then Marco, maybe you can do a introduction and maybe you can introduce the other guest too.
Yes, gladly. Yeah, we definitely missed you in Dubai. I was hanging out quite a bit with Morty, but yeah, I'm sure we will speak about it in a second. For those that don't know, I'm Marco. I do all the fun AI stuff on Oasis, and this has actually been quite fun recently since I have to build quite a few agents for the events that are coming up. Uh, Oasis is a privacy focused L1, it's TE based, and that's why we also built the framework for utilizing these TEs for off chain compute. It just made sense. Lots of the AI stuff will be happening off chain for quite a while. So we built a framework so that you can build trustless agents and kind of have verifiable off chain compute. But yeah, with us we have Ort. Speaker is Makosi. Please correct me if I mispronounce it. Sorry for that. But Ort has been a great partner for a while.
Oh, hey, Marco. Yeah, actually, it's Marcos, but I answer to Marcos, Marcus, Mark. I'm pretty flexible, so yeah. Yeah, first of all, hey, guys, thanks for having me here. I'll just kind of give a little snippet about Ort. So, Ort essentially is a decentralized AI startup based in New York, and we are essentially a decentralized cloud for AI. And I'll just unpack it just a little bit. So we are a decentralized, verifiable cloud computing platform where we leverage blockchain technology and connecting data centers to smartphones where you can store your data, do data labeling, data collections, and also we're trying to build uh, what kind of like an Expedia for compute providers. So that's what ORT is essentially in a nutshell. So yeah, so I don't want to go too verbose because I'm kind of still recovering from Token as I'm based here in Sunnyside, Dubai. So yeah, just hitting the main conference and so many pretty cool side events. In all areas, but definitely I think Decent AI is quite interesting, and there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in the AI space, whether you're talking about storage, validation, data, and of course, yes, compute. So yeah, yeah. So that's about myself and Ort. So I'll hand it over to the host for the most.
Yeah, I mean that's a great segue. To be fair, I was really surprised how much RWA discussion there was. I don't know if this is like Dubai specific, if there is still like a massive market for this. There's lots of local players that actually want to support this. But I talked to tons of projects that are doing like tokenization of real estate and they're building all of these new marketplaces. So this was definitely unexpected for me. And likewise, the agent space is bubbling. Like I talked to at least 10 teams. I still have to go through my Telegram messages that are doing something in the space of agent to agent collaboration, agent to agent negotiation, communication, any kind of method to kind of have agents interact with. So I think it was great for Morty to be at our event. So Morty was actually speaking there, and I have to say his keynote was one of the busiest we had. Like everyone was really interested in seeing finally an implementation of all of this agent to agent collaboration, and specifically also the truth use case is just so tangible. It's a problem that most people have. Everyone's struggling with it, so it was very cool to kind of see how many people paid attention and were very curious about it. I would love to actually hear at one point also from Morty how he kind of saw all of this.
Yeah, I can
But I'm
act.
sure Yannick
Yeah,
really brief.
I can actually tell you because he was really pleased with the whole the whole setup that you guys arranged. First of all, thank you for that. That was really nice. And I think that he was probably was kind of nervous going into it because I had I had a few calls with him to kind of like nail down how we should present like ourselves. And eventually we realized that the best way to present ourselves is just to like like show what is possible, right? And I think that actually attracted a lot of conversations post his keynote, and he spun up like a few groups, and he's had a few talks with very interesting people. So yeah, it was really great, and it actually like got a few balls rolling for us. So that's really cool. Yeah, shame that I couldn't come, but with the newborn, I just wanted to make sure that I spend enough time in the early days here. But yeah, I guess Morty was, very much capable to deliver that message.
Yeah, that's what I figured. But yeah, I mean, how lucky can you be if your CTO can do sales and BD? That's kind of best case.
You know what's funny? Like, you know how we filter people in our company? Did Morty tell you?
No, I
Like,
haven't asked.
okay, you must be able to produce music as a hobby.
Okay.
So
Oh man, okay.
so Morty is a producer, our like chief blockchain engineer is a producer. Our marketing guy knows a bit about production and music as well. That was it's not a true filter. It's more so a coincidence. But like this kind of like this kind of like profile usually works out good in public. You know what I mean?
Does singing count?
Singing counts. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Singing counts. Can you sing?
All right, good, good. I love it.
I can do AI music very well. I wonder if that's enough.
Yo, have you seen? Oh, so okay, let's dive into this like side quest for a little bit. I've been getting these Twitter, these sorry, X, sorry, Elon, my apologies. I've been getting these X posts all the time about like how people are inventing new ridiculous ways to use AI to generate like fucking garbage and then like monetize it. Like, and AI music is one of the biggest ones, man. I used to be in the music scene, so I naturally sometimes my timeline because I follow a bunch of like music related uh, profiles too. Um, and yeah, so I've been getting these like, hey, do you want to know how I'm making like $3,000 per month? Generating AI music, and then the catch-all is that they're literally generating like 60,000 or 70,000 different songs each month and dumping it on like Spotify and SoundCloud and stuff.
Wow.
Oh yeah, like volumes, man, like volumes, and they're teaching that to other people. I'm like, oh my God, that like imagine you get like 1,000 people in the world doing that, and they all generate like 60 to 70,000 tracks per month. Like that must be such a burden on the provider, no? It's like that's like a lot of storage capacity that their like shitty AI generated music
Yeah, and
is
also lots of
asking.
compute. I
Yeah,
wonder who's
Hey, I'm
giving them
happy to store some
credits.
of that volumes of shitty music. Hey,
I
exactly.
mean, those the inference would have to be super expensive, no?
I think it's actually really cheap. I think those music generation models are super super cheap. Because like there's a bunch of them which you can literally use for free. You don't even have to make an account. So I assume that it's really really cheap.
I mean, I've only used Suno, and I have to say, it's definitely not kind of for the general audience to build like these hits that are gonna be listened all over the world. But what it works really well with, oh, I think we lost Orts. I don't know, of course. Um, but what it works really well with or for is actually very customized songs. I think I've shared this before, but I've gotten many people in my surrounding, like friends, family, really emotional with these songs, like thank you songs that kind of mention very personal things between us that obviously no one else can know, or just like songs for my parents in their native language, and they really cried
Oh
just
my
because it
God.
was so personal and customized.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah,
Because the first time that I really like the first time that I really got into listening to a full track that was AI produced was because one of our community members and junior moderators, he made like a few tracks about Swarm. He made like a techno track about Swarm. And I was listening to it like just a few days ago. So I hadn't touched it for a while. But it's really good, man. It's scary. It's like the lyrics all make sense, like the composition of the track is like really proper. It actually sounds like a song, like actually sounds like a song sung by a person, and the production grade is pretty high because so okay for those who don't know music production is not easy because it's all about the quality of your recordings and the quality of your sounds and like then once you have good quality sounds you're not done yet because there's this whole like mixing process and you need expensive equipment like so I used to have a music studio. I used to have a recording studio actually, so we had to invest like a lot of money into like a mixing desk and speakers, and we had to like soundproof the whole thing, and we had to have like floating floors and floating ceilings and all of this stuff that went into it just to get the sound right. Like, and then after that mixing process, you also have mastering, and that's like another kind of like engineer level job, which requires like 20 years of experience and so on to get like a production grade song, which can go to the radio. You'll probably spend like anywhere from like 5,000 up to like $100,000 post producing the song. So once you've already have the song and then you want to get it production ready, you have to spend a bunch of money. But now with AI, like whatever it spits out is like production grade because it's trained on radio hits. It's pretty wild.
but is it actually? Do you not notice a difference as an expert?
No, of course I can tell that it's AI, but
Okay.
I can just tell that the sound, the quality of the sound and how, the balance of all the instruments and the loudness and the equalize like the EQ in terms of like how much low end frequencies and how many high end frequencies. I know I'm talking like a nerd right now, but it's really I mean like you know, it sounds really good, to be honest. It sounds really, really good. And that's why people are upset, because you see this trend like segueing away from AI. Like I think that the threat of like AI agents, um, like taking over a lot of industries and jobs, and especially now that you have all of these kinds of different models, which are not just they're not just large language models anymore, right? Like you have like voice models, you have like now apparently indeed these music models, but you have like whatever, like specialized models for like recognizing objects in the real world that are used for robotics and self-driving cars and so on. And that it doesn't stop there, right? And machine learning models have been out there, for a very long time already. So you have all of these industries which have essentially already been run by agents, like by software, by models for a long time. I just read a paper from Andrew Ng, like one of those guys, one of those professors that is, really pushing the boundaries of AI. I think he's at Stanford or it might be Harvard, I forgot. But he was talking about like models that can improve the crop yield and help farmers, like visually identify when was the best time to like for example, like harvest a crop or something like that. So once all of these models start to become integrated and accessible to executors, which are agents, like holy shit, like all of a sudden I kind of get it. I kind of get why the writers are angry. I kind of get why the musicians are getting angry because it's a threat to them. Like, really, like, especially those creative jobs, like we talked about before, man. It's like, I see it. I see it coming, and it's coming faster than people realize, I believe.
Yes, I mean we keep talking about it, and I don't want to be the doomer again, but also they are pissed because it's trained on past things they have done. So it's
Mm.
using their creativity and they get nothing in return. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was like this TED talk with Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI, obviously, and they were kind of showing this Snoopy comic, which was kind of fun, and he was just talking about the content, and then the moderator was like, "Yeah, but isn't this pretty much IP theft? Yes, an AI model generated this Snoopy comic, but you didn't ask Snoopy, the creators, you didn't get any of these kind of rights to utilize this." And the audience was kind of clapping, and he was like super ice cold, like, "Yeah, yeah, clap as long as you can." That was such a weird moment. I feel like him not kind of addressing this at all, but just like, hey, this is publicly out there. We will use whatever we can, and you can't stop us.
Yeah, and you see those companies actually championing for the abolishment of IP, right? Like IP rights. I think it's like Elon is a proponent of that, Sam is a proponent of that, and there's a bunch of other. I think I'm
Jack Dorsey.
yeah, yeah, Jack Dorsey,
Yeah.
and then I believe like Jensen Huang, and a bunch of guys. They're like in order, and I get the state, I get the vision or the idea. So the idea is like, okay, like if you abolish like IP rights, then that means that you can train a model on anything like freely. And that means that it's a lot easier for them to train, right? Because now they start to have like, certain lawsuits, and they get certain, especially in the United States, they get certain, like agencies on their ass that want to know how they handle this kind of like proprietary data and images and IP and so on. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one because I don't think it's gonna happen because it's like patents, like patents and like intellectual property rights. It's such a big business for companies, and it's such a cornerstone of like international business and litigation and so on. There's so much money involved in it that I don't think that that's gonna happen. But it's interesting if you think about it. You know what's crazy? I was reading this book about it's a Paul Sayer book. It's about graphic design actually. So he's like one of the American great graphic designers that kind of came up pre Macintosh, pre computer, and then made that transition over to digital. Anyway, in his book, he describes a few of his favorite rock band LP covers, like the image, like the depiction of the cover. So it was like AC/DC, and then he would describe like what was on the cover. And the story was interesting because uh his best friend's mom found the stash of like death metal and like rock and so on, and they were a very Christian family, so he was in big trouble. But he described those covers really well, but he didn't mention the names of the bands in the description. What I did was I took the description. So imagine he's a designer, he's visually explaining in proper jargon what exactly is depicted in imagery on the cover of this album. I took one of the descriptions. There's no reference to the band. There's no reference whatsoever to the band name or the singer or anything. It's just a visual description of what's on the cover and where it is. So like on the top right corner, there's like the band title, and then there's like a jeans. The background is like the lower part of a male body. You can see the jeans, and then like his gun was relatively big and bulging out of the jeans and so on and so on. And I took that description, I put it into Sora, into ChatGPT, the image creation model, and I got the with the description not referencing the band, I got an exact replica of the cover of that band.
But it didn't recognize the actual band.
No, it did. It did. It also made the title. It was literally like a one-on-one. I was actually going to publish it. So I think it was like I think it was AC/DC or something like that. And it was just like it was not exactly the same, but like it was like AC/DC, and then you had the jeans, and then you had like, like
Damn.
it was almost the same. So if you can visually describe it really accurately, it will just like pull up like the closest reference apparently, and it will just reprint it. So that's really the underlying issue, right? So that puts it into context. So if you can describe something really well, and you see it with the like the Studio Ghibli, right? Like that whole thing that went on like a few weeks ago, where everybody changed their profile pictures to the Studio Ghibli anime style. It's like, yeah, that's the problem, right? Like I'm an artist, okay, I'm making this like, the imagery, I'm selling it and so on, and then all of a sudden you're like, you don't need me anymore. Anybody can do it, like just cut every equation. Let's just have machines make art now.
Yeah, I mean, I have artist friends, and they are always really scared of now putting their stuff out there. Like, I always love playing around with these new tools. So there's, for example, Flora, where you can build these super cool flows to get from text prompt to image to then video, then kind of adjust the video based on some other images or tags. Like a very fascinating tool that gives you access to lots of different models, and actually also quite a few free credits. So I was asking him like, hey, can you send me like actual nice image or high quality images of one of your art pieces so that I just want to animate it and do something fun. He was like, no, actually, please don't upload it anywhere. This one I haven't put on Instagram. It's not online anywhere, and I kind of want to avoid it being now used by AI models. So it's a real problem, and I'm still surprised that it's not even close to being solved.
Yeah, but it's also a really complicated question, right? It's a difficult thing to solve because um I think it's I think it's one of those, you know, scenarios where you might have to sacrifice something for something greater. So you might have to sacrifice, like some smaller people. I don't mean to like neglect anybody or talk down on anybody, but like let's say like if you're not a top name in the industry, like it's really hard for you to champion for your rights. Like this is just a fact, especially if you're talking about artistry and so on. You'll you'll be sacrificed. But what is the sacrifice? Well, the sacrifice is for the models to become much better, right? And what is the upside for those models to become much better? Well, they can solve more of our problems in the real world. And okay, what does that give us? Well, that gives us more prosperity, probably, if if we deal with it correctly, and if we, democratize it and commoditize it and make it accessible, then it could significantly elevate the entire world's population in terms of what we have at our disposal, and probably it will be able to help us lift a bunch of people even further out of poverty. Though if you look at the poverty numbers, they're way better than, let's say, 20, 30 years ago. But I mean, like these models, like obviously they can accelerate this development of the entire world very rapidly. And I'm really excited about one thing, which is that, like now agents as perceived in the Web3 space, they're still purely involved in the informational kind of like world, right? Like they're still somewhat boxed in, um, to a certain degree, right? Like they are not, like, I don't see a Web3 company yet that has extension into the real world, as in, there's like some kind of like deep in aspect to the agent, or there's some kind of maybe embodiment, right? So robotics aspect of the agent. You don't see the self-driving Bitcoin taxis yet, right? Like we're not there yet, but that's definitely possible if these models become much better than they are right now, right? Like right now, it would still be hard to have like let's say an autonomous agent controlling an autonomous vehicle. I think that's still a little bit wonky, and probably there's still a lot that can go wrong, especially on ethical levels. But yeah, so my notion is like maybe this is a scenario where the industry is going to, or the entire world is going to sacrifice, like some people's livelihood, some people's business, and that is going to become something else, something new, right? And there is a, in my opinion, there is a upside to all of this, which is that uh, any job that disappears will remanifest itself somehow in a different form, right? So you say like, okay, well, like a taxi driver might become a uh, an autonomous taxi vehicle safety inspector or something like that, right? Like there's always something, there's always something that is gonna be created when a new industry is introduced because there's many problems that we haven't thought about, and that creates a lot of business opportunities, right? So let's say, you're a taxi driver, you see this, this Waymo revolution, and in China and in Hong Kong, you have a bunch of these startups that are really, really, really on the edge, and they're pushing things really far. They have like functioning self-driving taxi cabs in Beijing and Shanghai, for example, that are just fully autonomous, way better than Waymo. But yeah, if you're the taxi driver and you see this change happen, then you can, find a new niche and probably make much, much more money with that new thing. But obviously, that takes a bit of thought and a bit of entrepreneurial mindset. But yeah, it's not all bad. I don't know how do you guys think about this?
I mean, yeah, of course, but good luck giving this altruistic pitch today to an artist. I mean, they have to think about their livelihood today. So, of course, they will prefer to actually have some control over their IP, to preferably monetize it whenever it's trained and modeled. So, I get it, but also I don't think it's very fair now to just make it a free for all. And if it's out there, you can use it. Oh, we don't hear you, Marcos.
Oh yeah. Oh, you can hear me? Oh, great. Oh, so sorry. No, no, just reflecting what you guys were saying earlier. So, I mean, I, 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 I guess if you look at history and stuff, some of the old previous jobs, I know, like in the Victorian age, like the chimney cleaning thing or whatever. Now you don't have like folks doing that. There's going to be some shifts in the economy. I think that's going to happen. I guess when it comes to like, I think the challenges when it comes to like intellectual property in terms of creative works and artists and stuff. That's going to be a challenge, and I don't and I guess also still we got to figure out like what are the actual outputs and stuff for people to buy into this future that we're talking about in terms of AI agents and stuff. So because now with you, Marco, I guess we do have you know obviously we have some friends who are in that space, so um, right. I think we still have a long way to to go in terms of how to you know reward people for their artistic contributions. I think it's a matter of figuring out how to incentivize human contribution to AI. So, um, especially in the AI space, a lot of the AI models, it's all built on you know millions of humans, contributions, right? So, I mean, think of your data collection, data labeling. It's all a lot of it is done in the global south, and for example, Scale AI. Couple of months ago, they got hit with some I guess the Department of Labor or something for human rights violation in terms of payments and all that kind of stuff.
Really?
So yeah, yeah, I think there's a report, there's some articles about Scale AI. I think they're valued at like over $1 billion. So which is not something new. I mean, especially these guys like a lot of these companies do use third-party companies in the global south, particularly like say like India, Kenya, Nigeria, and what these economies have in common is that the economy is bad, but they do have highly talented people. So unfortunately, they get paid like $2 an hour. They work like 12 hours a day. So you could kind of think of it as sort of like digital slavery, in a sense. So if you don't believe me, there is a show called 60 Minutes by Barbara. I can't remember her last name. She's an old white lady, and she interviewed a lot of these students from Kenya, and they all have worked for these companies, and they've gone through a lot of human rights issues and stuff. So I would recommend people is there on YouTube. So which is kind of interesting to see that particular show, which has been running for more than 30 years, cover this area of AI. So, and I guess it kind of makes sense because not many people uh, visualize that, hey, there are millions of people who are actually, contributing their data. They're doing the most laborious part of AI, which is, data collection and data labeling. So, um, and I guess we'll see more of that in the future. So, I guess when it comes to, some of the creative stuff, I mean, there's going to be challenges with with the general population. Then definitely we're going to have some challenges from bureaucrats and politicians. They still want to figure out some way how they can get a piece of the action. That's I can see that coming. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I'm sure there's going to be some way they're going to do it. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, so anyways, sorry, apologies. I don't want to go on a long tangent, but just want to share a little bit about, I guess, maybe what I'm seeing. So hope that made sense.
Yes, it does. Marco, are you
And
still
also,
with us? Oh yeah.
of
Yes.
course. I just want to ask Marcos. I mean, you're the one closest to us. I mean, I know the OR data hub and like not shilling the product or anything, but you guys have built a system how to reward data sharing, participation in all kinds of data sets. And I'm sure some part of it, actually, I'm not sure, but I would guess that there is also some form of creative contribution and there are also artists part of the platform trying to get paid. But correct me if I'm wrong.
We haven't hit the, like, I guess, the creative side. I think at the moment we're more focused on what do you say, um, collecting collecting data from, I guess, AI based companies in terms of um, from the art world or from the creative industries. Not yet, not yet. So this is more like traditional AI companies. I mean, it would so we basically, people, say for example, if it is in construction or something. So we ask people to collect you know images or even audio for in the construction space, and later get it labeled, and then send it off to these AI companies who will use it to train their specific models and stuff. So the creative space, I hope so. I hope we could maybe find some clients, but I'm sure I guess the art world or the creative space. Um, I guess maybe they haven't jumped on the AI bandwagon for a lot of good reasons. I guess a couple of months ago you had the, what do you call, the Writers Guild and the Actors Guild in Hollywood. I mean,
Yeah, I
they
didn't even
protest
know
like
that
crazy.
guilt. Yeah, I didn't even know that they still use the word guilt. I was like, holy shit, what are we in
I,
the Middle Ages?
I don't sound like a Warhammer or like a Warcraft kind of a thing, right? So,
Yeah, but
um,
but can I ask a question, Marcus?
yeah,
So um, essentially how you guys would work or how your platform works is that you pay out fees to so your clients are the AI companies that want to train data, correct?
yeah, essentially, yeah. So, yeah,
And then the providers are just people that have the capacity to fulfill whatever kind of like data set or requirements for a data set that's out there, right? So you gave the example for like construction, maybe it would be like floor plans, right, for large buildings or something like that, right? So you go out and source that material, which is not readily available and accessible, and then provide that to the AI companies. Is that how I have to understand it?
yeah. Let me because the challenge is that, like, a lot of these AI companies, they have quite a complicated, I guess, requirements. So let's take an example of, like, say, Okay, say that you want to start your own kind of like a fashion app. So, they need, like raw data of people from different parts of the world wearing different clothes, like
Mm,
people in China, they wear like certain kinds of t-shirts or pants. Same thing in India, or say in Dubai. So you try to, so the idea is that, we try to get like, different images that are collected from different parts of the world. So it's kind of like geographically distributed. So
mm,
so the more distributed and more voluminous it is, um, then and also of course also not just collected but also labeled as well. So um, just like what I mean by label is that yeah, you take a picture of me with a polo shirt and shorts, but you also need some context. Like you need someone to label my shirt as blue. It has a fashion logo. So these things, the more detailed it is, the better the AI can be in terms of training the models and stuff. So so yeah, so I hope that kind of made sense. So
yeah, no, it does. It does make sense. Um,
yeah,
and those data sets, they're quite large, right?
yeah, yeah, it can be, yeah. It can be, quite quite a lot because I don't remember the exact size and stuff, but there is like what do you say? Certain companies have like different requirements and stuff. So and again, if you're trying to like create a new AI product or you're also trying to do an update, you still need raw data. You still need like from actual human beings. Because that's the only way like the AI gets better and stuff. So
Right, 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 right.
it's like a how do you say it, like a uh, not a moving target, but like it'll keep evolving. Because uh, the, that definitely the need for data is not going to stop. It's going to keep growing and growing. So which is good for us, especially we are in the AI space. So I think the challenge is trying to get for us, the challenge for us is trying to get high quality data. I'm sure like we can scrape all kinds of data from the internet, but the challenge is where can we get high quality data which will make our AI agents much more better, perform better, evolve better. So that's going to be the challenge, I guess,
Mm,
especially as we
mm,
move forward. So yeah.
mm. I see, I see, I see. Thank you for sharing. And we just by Francesco. Go- Hey
Hey,
man.
what's up, everyone?
Hey bro.
Happy Pack Day, everyone.
Howdy,
Yeah,
howdy.
maybe just do a quick intro and then you can jump right into the conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I like what I'm listening right now. What's up, everyone? I'm leading developer relation at Consensus, so I'm playing quite a bit with agents. We are currently not doing something specific on the wallet side, on the MetaMask side, but I'm very enthusiastic around developer onboarding and also like contributing to a DAO called Mother DAO, where we are basically like building specific like agent frameworks and standards for agents, basically building social graph for agents. And yeah, we're just very excited to ship this stuff. Token just happened. I hope everybody got a little bit of rest post during the weekend. But yeah, and for everyone listening, happy Pectra Day. And yeah, thanks so much for having me here.
Yes, I was gonna say I saw you today on my feed like 20 times. Tell us about Pectra. How did it go?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things happened, but I think it was very smooth. I mean, compare like some of those other upgrades. I mean, this was probably like the biggest one post merge. Is including also like different EIPs. I also try to actually like break down different technicalities on what actually was happening from the developer side, from the user side. Obviously, like, there is a lot of like kind of like nitty gritty account abstraction. I would say inclusion with this upgrade, but probably like it went well. I mean, the team foundation, also research team, was also monitoring the first like 50 minutes around the finality. So there was a lot of like different things, but it actually went quite smooth. And yeah, I mean, it's if you think about the complexity, how long also like it takes to actually like involving those EIPs on mainnet is a very complex work, and the fact that it went also so smooth is showing also the caliber on this researcher side. And the interesting thing is that this, for me, I mean, translating this for everyone is um, this upgrade also bring really interesting points around usability, around specific action that also new dApps developer can do on Ethereum specifically, right? So it's not just improvements on the protocol level side, but also like we are enabling. I assume it's very like kind of like facilitating. Say it's like we are enabling new kind of like function, new let's say skills to actually being built on top of Ethereum. So I think this is a big also step for going into different target developers, because I think sometimes like dApps developers they are more high level, they don't care about kind of like low level development sides. It's I think it's a big kind of like milestone. So I'm very excited what happened. Kind of like, and obviously there is a lot of like things that now will progress on a waterfall basis. You know, new IPs coming. There is already people like seeing, okay, what's happening next. But yeah, very exciting thing. And yeah, but I think like there is, I don't know if you guys also like spoke about kind of like the lesson learned around Dubai, but I think a lot of like things are happening on the builder sentiment side. They are very positive around the ecosystem. So I'm definitely very excited also like to see this sentiment going, right? Because we're in this space, you know, for also like building better infrastructure, better also like tooling, better kind of like let's say privacy compliant systems, and minimizing our goal with doing stuff like specific like meme coin trading is maybe 1 or 2% of what actually this industry is capable to evolve in, right? So yeah, but going back to this space title, there was a lot of discussion around token. I don't know what you say before in the space, but I hear a lot around the agency, agentic systems, social coordination around agents. What you guys heard about from token? I don't know if you guys discussed about that or kind of the main highlights.
Well,
Yeah, we did.
I've s- I've
Go ahead.
I've seen a meme about it. I wasn't a token myself, but now there were some memes saying that people were kind of like tired of people saying like, well, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm building an AI agent.
Yeah, I think yeah, there was some discussion a lot around what agency kind of like are on production, right? And people were speaking about, okay, even if you're on production, there were some names, I don't want to name it, but they're being tested and on production for maybe a month and a half, right? So that was a little bit kind of like funny, but I mean it's also like. It's also, how do we say, like we are so like early also like in terms of like building a agentic system. I think like unleashing the power, it's also like a strategy, meaning right now like in specific on token I see two main use case, right? On the social side, so on the social coordination, on the waterfall kind of like content distribution, and then you have on the DeFi side, all obviously maximize yielding. uh, but also like on the DeFi side, there are so many more use cases that we can just do that is not just kind of like maximize yields, right, on the agency side. So that's why I'm saying it's super early, but I wonder what you guys heard and what's your feedbacks.
Yes, I said this in the beginning. I was really impressed how much the space was bubbling. I had at some point like 7 people in a round, and just everyone was working on agent to agent collaboration. Somehow, agent to agent negotiation, coordination, all of these systems. And it was like, what the fuck? How are you all working on the same thing? But it's such a massive topic to solve, and there's so many different approaches. And I mean, even the big Web2 players, they are working on this. There's always these new Swarm SDKs from OpenAI. Google released their A2A framework. We have still MCP servers, even though they're getting somehow less popular. it's really incredible how many are working on this. So this was really bullish for me for the space, because previously I had this feeling like the decentralized AI was slowing down. Like people were realizing, hey, this is actually difficult to do. Specifically, also just like DeFi agents. Like I know you say, hey, yield optimization, it's kind of trivial, but still, there's so much like security to be done. Like to build actual trustless agents, which is what we at Oasis keep on kind of pushing. It's still very, very difficult. Like how do you show your users, hey, I don't control this agent, I don't have the access to the private keys, I can't just rug you. So it's super difficult as soon as you move away from these fun Twitter bots. But yeah, it was exciting to see that many projects working on it.
And you know
Yeah, I agree.
what signals this? Well, what what is the reason for that focus, and what is the reason for that shift, and why all of a sudden people are working on the bigger problems? Is because I feel, and I think that the meme super cycle is finally coming to an end, and everybody has been like ultra rugged. People don't have money anymore. And then now it's time for us to focus on the real utility again, right? Like where last cycle was also a lot of that bullshit going on, but there was still much more people that were actually trying to solve fundamental issues and build good tech. And I think that people are trying to revert a lot of the attention now back to, like projects that actually have product and actually really do something, which is really cool to see. And I think that also, regarding the agent collaboration and the agent negotiation, agent collaboration, like all of these frameworks, they're all going to achieve a certain um, level, I believe, a certain size. And the reason for that is because there's no like one solution fits all, right? There's like different types of orchestrations, different types of collaborations. You have like, whatever. You have like waterfalls. You have like more kind of like these free-for-all structures. You have very well-defined like A, B, C, D, E, F, G kind of workflows. So there's so many different types of kind of like collaborative models and different types of things you can focus on within the larger notion of agent-to-agent collaboration, right? So for example, what we're focusing on is not necessarily agent-to-agent collaboration, but we're more focusing on cluster-to-cluster collaboration, and then also like the formation of larger swarms, right? Really ramping up, like instead of we're focusing on like 5 to 10 agents working together, we've kind of solved that puzzle, and we're now moving on to, let's say, okay, what if you have 1,000? What if you have 3,000? What if you have 5,000? What if you have 10,000? What if you have 100,000? Like, how do you make a system like that like behave well and become more powerful than, let's say, like just a few agents that are working together? So there's, like this issue is starting small. Like there's a small problem that is to be solved, but the problem is gonna grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And there's going to be so many niches to be served, right? There's going to be so many niches to be served because the issue with generalization of these kind of like frameworks and models is that if it's too general, you will then again require your users to understand too much and do too much work themselves, right? So if you make it too general, then you are putting the, let's say, the requirement on the user of really understanding what an agent is capable of and so on. So I think that there's going to be these kind of like agent collaboration framework specifically for DeFi. And then for us right now, it looks like it's agent collaboration framework specifically for handling arbitrary data. Like there's like very different kinds of things that are gonna pop off, I believe. And it's really exciting to see that so many people are working on it. And I'm also happy that it's starting now because like we're already so far ahead. I don't want to boast, but yeah, we're kind of like early to the space, and that makes us positioned relatively favorably.
Maybe Yannick, I just have a quick question on the I 100% on the social collaboration side that there is a lot of also discussion, people already implementing different things. But I want to say like two things on what you said at the beginning, right? I see, not actually looking at kind of like the meme coin cycle, like probably one of my proudest part of this cycle specifically was seeing kind of like Web2 PhD coming and funding
Mm,
and building agents from scratch. Like this
mhm,
is through smart capital injection. And the reason why people are coming is obviously the Web3 rail. You have on-chain data, feedable under like 24/7. You actually like can speak with different protocol and fetch their data. So the reason like Web3 rail is really providing added value to those people, and we see kind of like agent builder flourishing. And probably my proudest time was actually interviewing and learning from this kind of like agent builder and understanding really why they came on kind of on Web3 rail. And I think that was one point. And my second point is agent to agent collaboration. One of the probably the most important things I want to say is that we need also like some standardization or some specs around agents, because I feel like that was the reason why actually like MotherDAO started in the first place, is that we didn't want to kind of like see what kind of like happened with DeFi Summer, that people forked dexes like 1,000 dexes, and user at the end of the day got kind of like rugged because it was the fork of the fork of the fork, right?
mm, mm.
Same is happening with agents. And one thing that is happening is that if we're not building first some social coordination layer and social reputation that is on chain for agent, we are kind of like we will not be able to actually like surround ourselves who are kind of like the agents really providing value, and users will not be able to
Yeah,
actually like find this out from the
yeah,
kind of website specific. But also like I'm happy that, for example, you guys are pushing also hard on kind of specs and standards, because I think like we don't want to siloed more kind of like agent builders and having standards and specific specs on how to new builders come to build is
yeah,
very crucial.
yeah. That is the whole ideology behind the truth protocol that we're developing. And truth for not just for finding the truth in let's say the context of misinformation and so on, but also in verifiability and reputation for the units or the nodes that operate on the network. And so I did a very interesting exercise where I said like, okay, what if such a protocol of like reputation, essentially, right? Because let's say like if you want to be able to rely on a certain output of a certain cluster of agents or an individual agent, right? Like the historical track record of that agent is really crucial. The person who builds that agent or who governs that agent, essentially, if it's a group of people or if it's if it's anonymous, it doesn't really matter. But who is the controlling entity of this agent, for example? Like all of these different pieces of information, they are really important. It's very hard to find, like find out um, on an individual basis, like, okay, who made this? What did it do in the past? Can I trust it? And so on. So for that, you need some kind of like standardization indeed. And so the exercise that I did was I imagined that at the start of the internet, right? Like what would such a protocol have looked like first for humans? And then I went through five different phases and I eventually kind of like imaginarily evolved it up until like a blockchain standard or like a unified protocol essentially. And what comes back all the time is like, okay, like this reputation aspect is just super crucial, like because you want to be able to rely on a service, but you don't want to necessarily have to do the research on the service, right? So if I go to like a famous company, I go to that company because I know that they do their job well because they have a very high market cap, high valuation, and they've serviced a lot of other companies, and I'm willing to pay a premium for that. But that's like kind of like a social construct, right? But the problem with agents is that there's going to be so many of them, right? And they're going to be so like specifically solving like certain problems. So you need to have some kind of like a unified and standardized model for this, because otherwise people are just going to be so confused and they're just going to get rocked all the time, and then party's over for everybody.
I agree. Where does people can see these standards in general, right? Is there some kind of like I remember back in the days with the discussion around the Ethereum magician with the NFT standards that people came out with RPC library specs. Do you see these standards or kind of like some kind of like standard specs libraries somewhere where people can actually see? Is there some resources out there?
Not that I know of, but we are going to publish something similar probably over the course of the next few months. And but like the problem with this is that it has to become a thing that everybody uses, right? And I don't do you remember like how that evolution came to be like for the NFTs? Because at one point everybody was just like settled kind of like on
Oh yeah.
that was just
Uh-huh.
like an Ethereum thing, no? That was just like
Of course, of
Ethereum
course.
driven.
And I remember, yeah, the debate started because like a lot of people were saying, okay, I want to move from like OpenSea to Rarible, but there was no specs on the ERC. So like I was like, okay, that's super interesting. And then I started to see the debate, hey, we need to standardize specific kind of attribution levels. If not, not just marketplaces, but let's say also like NFT consumers and dApps builders. Obviously, this is more kind of like scoped, verticalized, and I think this will happen the same with like agents because people will build siloed agents, especially on DeFi, and it will be like this kind of like social to agent collaboration will be more important. And if we don't have standards, that someone, and I don't know, like the question is also whose responsibility is to build those standards, right? I saw it's already kind of like popping up. I'm not sure if those kind of like standard can be driven by the registries or like by certain foundations, but we need that something like to kind of like clear out the space because it will come sooner rather than later, right?
Yeah, yeah. And if you really think deeply about it, like the reason why I did that exercise to try and imagine what that would look like at the beginning of the internet and then like propagate it through time as new other, like sub protocols came to be like HTTPS and whatever, like all the other kind of like security related stuff. They were just mainly focused on the verification of the source, the validity of the message and so on, right? And then a couple of like very simple security features built in. But what I'm getting at is that it's not a super complicated problem actually, right? Like developing the standards and then kind of like making sure that they are um fit with the evolution of the space in general in terms of what the agents are required to do, right? Like obviously there can become like a scenario where a standard could become a bottleneck, but then like if it's a standard, then it shouldn't be that hard if everybody has consensus around that standard to then also have some kind of like move forward and evolution in the standard. But it's a really interesting one because like it's kind of like a chicken and egg problem, right? Like what do you need first? Do you need too many people that want to do more with AI agents, but they're hampered because there are no standards and everybody is just like fighting each other? Or do you start with the standards? Like probably it's, I don't know actually.
Yeah, it's a good point. I just want to say that you need to also like at the end someone need to drive those kind of like standard conversation out. And I remember back in Denver that I see like Jake is also in the audience, but I was quite impressed by the guys from Story, for example. They push this kind of like standard specs around IPs. So at least like like you have, for example, companies saying, okay, we're pushing kind of like this standard specs out so that actually people can follow. And the expectation on the kind of like on the agent side is that builders will start using some of those specs so that they know that an agent will be unified. And I'm assuming the same conversation maybe will happen on the side, maybe on the registry. They will actually say, hey, this is the registry specs. If you kind of like want to align with other agency, agentic kind of like agents in the space, this is something that you can follow. So assuming something like that will happen. But yeah, it's definitely exciting.
Yeah. And another thing to think about though is that agents are so versatile, right? Like they don't have to adhere to any specific thing. It's very easy for them to adapt to like a multitude of different types of like interpretation of that standard and maybe across different protocols too. So it's also, yeah, it's an interesting one. It's very interesting indeed. Um, yeah, but I mean, there yeah, so like the problems will arise when these agents, let's say like you build an agent on, let's keep it really simple. You build an agent on Ethereum, I build an agent on Sui, and now we want to have some kind of settlement take place, like that is standardized across Ethereum and Sui, right? Like as if maybe like you could for users, for our listeners, let me try and make it as simple as possible. You could probably think of like a bridging function, right? So I want to send tokens from one chain to another, and there's like a bridge that facilitates that, right? So um, how that can work is that like one side of the chain that sends the tokens to the other side, the tokens are locked and unlocked on the other end, and vice versa. In really simple terms, it's obviously a little bit more complicated, but like like now if you want settlement to happen between agents cross chains, you're going to have an issue, right? Because like that's going to be very complicated. So now there's also this battle going on. It's like, okay, where should the agents be built? Which I think it's a really ridiculous conversation to have. It's like, obviously they should be built everywhere, but the more important question is like, eventually, how can you make sure that they can do business with each other across different ecosystems?
Yeah, I really hope like we're not getting to down to the conversation like also which which registry or which kind of like framework has more distribution to kind of like agent consumers, right? Because one thing I'm asking myself, especially post Dubai, is that I'm thinking also like if there will not be a big problem solution fit for independent agent consumers, we will probably see more kind of like agent being kind of more like a B2B kind of like service side. So
Yeah.
agents will actually servicing protocols, and protocols, uh, DeFi specific like governance protocol will be the one actually up, I would say up value proposing like the value to the users, right? So basically like you are abstracting the service to the users, and the users is getting kind of like the benefit
Yeah.
of this kind of like uptime, and but the service that the agent does is to the protocol itself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, correct. But yeah, but the most, let's say, like if you want to imagine a future where the agent space has flourished into, like it's near maximum state, then you'd have to have proper 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 standards proper standards, proper foundations, proper systems, proper technical solutions that are able to handle all different kinds of very complicated things. So what I see, where I see a lot of potential too, is in things, for example, like dispute settlement, right? So what if, like you get these like very large different systems, and hence we also think that it's part of the truth protocol that we're it's an important part of the truth protocol that we're developing. Is also, it's like, okay, so what if there is a dispute among agents where like it's gonna be impossible for a human to solve this situation, but it can also not be that like your agent can just go around and like scam other agents, for example, right? That's gonna be like mayhem. So there are so many very interesting problems that will have to be solved, which are really complicated problems beyond just standards.
Agree, agree. No, I really like this conversation, how the flow also is going. We should definitely do a part two here.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And another thing which I wanted to touch on, which you just mentioned earlier. I know we're a bit over time, guys, but let's just spend another 5 minutes if you have time. What I wanted to say is that yeah, you're right about it should not just be a solution for businesses, right? Because then, like, what is important for us and where I see a lot of potential is I want to be able to facilitate individuals to be able to adapt quickly with times and create opportunities for these people. And the way I see the world in the next 5 to 10 years is that I will have a business, and my business is probably like 90% made up out of agents or things that look like agents, and maybe a couple of like tools which are not agentic, but that the agents might use and that I might use to coordinate, the business and its functions and so on. So what is really important in that context is that you abstract the complexity away from the user that wants to build this business, right? So what that means is that like you need to reach a certain level of standardization of a whole slate of different separate like like workflows, if you will, that are part of building an agent or larger agent systems, such as like a swarm, for example. So kind of thinking about it as like a 360 life cycle management for agent to swarm building, but it has to be abstracted and it has to be simplified in such a manner that like I can do it without having like deep technical understanding of like like how do I write a Python script, or how do I implement an MCP server, or how do I do this, how do I that, right? Like you want to make it accessible to users. And the problem with agents right now is that yes, agents are user facing, but they're user facing in the way that, hey, I built this agent and now you can come and use it. But the real problem is like, okay, build the tool that allows people to build the agents that other people can then use, right? And that's where you really have this snowball effect, where like now all of a sudden everybody can build agents that actually are business grade agents. They can become part of larger, let's say, subsystems, and maybe even larger systems than those subsystems. So I'm talking about clusters and swarms. And then like we can launch a token for Swarm, and we can govern this thing together, and it becomes like an entity and can service other different endpoints and other businesses and so on. And then you really get this whole economy of agent ownership and Swarm ownership kickstarted. But yeah, there's so many things that have to really happen before that can become like a
Yeah, exactly. But
reality.
also, it's fine if it happens in parallel. Like we don't need to be pushing just this kind of enablement of non-tech users and build these no-code agent platforms. It's fine if it's sophisticated agents that are actually made into a business. Like for example, I can build an agent that does yield optimization for myself. But Arma, the team, Giza, where Giza is the team behind it, they have built a very cool one. They guarantee, or currently it has like 8.5% yield on stables. I'm like, this is fine for me. Like I don't need to build something myself. I do trust them. I kind of checked how they use session keys and perm keys. And in parallel, many are actually now building these no-code platforms. And I'm definitely with you. I think we will move towards a future where everyone is their own entrepreneur. You can have kind of these agent swarms doing things for you, and you are kind of the owner of those. Best case, you're even running them locally. But there's quite a few steps until we get there.
Yeah, and what is also a funny topic is that I think DAOs, like the DAO structure, is going to become more and more important, and people will like once and for all really have to solidify the tech stack for DAOs, because I think the DAO system is going to be the vehicle for not just like the autonomous organization, but the autonomous organization that controls the agent swarm. Cool. Can you still hear me, Marco?
Yes.
Okay, okay. All right.
Oh man, it's such a shame that we're already way over time.
Yeah,
This
we'll
was such a high energy
Yeah, that's
discussion.
why
And
I'm
so
saying
much.
we should have do a part two. It's really interesting also flowing this discussions.
Yes, yes. It was really nice to talk to you guys. This was really really nice. Let's do a follow-up with this panel, and then we can go a little bit deeper into the nitty-gritty. Thank you so much for joining us today, everybody. More than 1,000 people listening right now. It was a pleasure to host with Marco once again, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you guys. Thanks
Hey,
Francesco
thanks so
for
much
joining.
everyone and for people taking the time. Cheers. See you next time.
Bye bye.